Welcome to Pace Turf Interviews with the Experts, and we've asked Micah Wood to come back again to follow up on a previous video. If you haven't seen it, we were talking about climate and sunshine and the impact on turfgrass growth around the world. And Micah gets around a lot of locations. He's from the Asian Turfgrass Center, and today we're going to take a look at the more animated moving charts, climate charts that Micah's put together that sheds a lot of light on turf performance in different areas around the world, and we'll cap it off at the end with just a comment on the Olympics and the new golf course going down in Rio de Janeiro to give you just a little taste of what Micah thinks might be a good turfgrass selection for that area. So to start it off, we're going to have Micah give us an idea of how to operate these charts. And then we'll see how these charts can be used to compare your location to other locations and to get a better understanding of how turf is probably going to grow at your site and why you might be having some problems with the turf types you have there. So Micah, why don't you give us a little background and take us off in this?
All right. The moving charts are really cool because we can look at different cities and we can customize the way that the data is displayed on the charts. Let's just jump right in and have a look at it. We've got 46 cities from around the world here, mostly from warm season areas. And right now, let's look at temperature in Honolulu. And let's look at that throughout the year. So we can click on Honolulu, and then we'll go down to the x-axis, and we'll change that to time. And so that will show us throughout over the course of a year. It will show us the temperature in Honolulu after we change the y-axis to be temperature. So let's go over there and change that to temperature. And I think we need to make one more adjustment, and that's to click on trails, and that's going to give us a trace of the temperature throughout the year. And so we've customized the chart a little bit. Now we just click play, and it's going to show us now over the course of a year what the temperature, the average temperature would be at Honolulu. And we can see that the temperature is relatively similar throughout the year. It's a little bit cooler in the winter months, a little bit warmer in the summer months, but the temperatures are always suitable for the growth of warm season grasses. And I recently made a trip to Hawaii and went to both Honolulu and Hilo and did some botanizing. So let's look at how the temperature is in Hilo also. And so we'll click on Hilo here, and we'll just click play again and run through it. So now we've got both Honolulu and Hilo, and we'll see they're very, very similar in temperature, which is what we would expect with those two cities being so close to each other. Hilo, of course, is on the big island of Hawaii, and Honolulu is on Oahu. Honolulu just a little bit warmer during the summer months. Now we can also look, and this might be surprising, let's change the y-axis now from temperature to sunshine hours, and there's actually a big difference between Honolulu and Hilo here. Look, the sunshine hours at Honolulu on average are considerably more than they are at Hilo, and this again is the measured sunlight the light intensity, or the sunshine hours recorded if the light intensity at any one time is greater than 120 watts per square meter. This is not day length; it's actual intensity of the sunlight. Mm-hmm. So that kind of shows how the charts can be used, and we've prepared some charts to speed things up in this video. We've prepared some charts already that show, but you can customize this yourself as you like. All of this is available online and can be freely used and customized as you like.
Right, you've got this up on your website, and if you look at this, there's a link associated with this video in the descriptions of the video, so that everybody will be able to take a look and compare your site to other sites or get a better understanding of your site. So let's take a trip to the static versions, which is something like what we're seeing here over the year, or that are not moving, but it'll illustrate how things change through the year. Let me pull those up for a second here.
We looked at the moving charts and how they can be customized by changing the x-axis, changing the y-axis, highlighting different cities, showing a trail that traces the city throughout the year. And but that's just charts. Let's look at what happens when we actually go to a site. I've been lucky enough to visit Honolulu, which we can see in this image here, and by the chart we saw that the temperature was pretty good, and we saw that there is also a lot of sunshine in Honolulu. When we took off from Honolulu, it was sunny. 30 minutes later, when we arrived in Hilo, it was very cloudy. And the next day, when we took off from Hilo, it was raining. And when we landed at Honolulu, there was a beautiful sunset with very few clouds in the sky. So I would say these charts are not only good for looking at how grasses may perform in a certain area, they're also great for choosing the ideal holiday locations. So here's what I saw at Hilo. We remember we saw very sunny skies at Honolulu, and here in Hilo there was a bit of sun, but lots of cloud cover in the background, you see, and the grasses that we saw in Hilo. This is a zoysia green. This is Zoysia matrellum, manila grass, and the fairways are primarily Axonopus compressus or carpet grass, and that's the type of grass that we saw in Hilo. Then going back to Honolulu, where it was very sunny, this is the Hawaii Kai Golf Course in East Honolulu, and this is Bermuda grass on the green, Bermuda grass rough, Bermuda grass fairway, all Bermuda grass, which thrives in this very sunny type of environment. Bermuda grass, of course, thrives in the very sunny environment, but in the tropics, in places like Hong Kong or in Rio de Janeiro, it's not always sunny. So here we're looking at temperature for 5 cities around the world. Honolulu and Hilo we've looked at already, and now let's look at Miami and also Hong Kong and Rio, and we'll see that for temperature throughout the year there's a lot of overlap. They all have roughly the same temperature, but I'm going to argue that we can't just choose grasses based on temperature, because for warm season grasses that just doesn't work. Now Larry, I saw something on your website earlier about cool season and warm season grasses and having a different light requirement. Can you explain that to me?
Well, you know, that's really cheap shot. Okay. Well, as you know, you've been trying to convince me that temperature alone has not the driver for growth. It just happens to be one of those points of data that are available for many locations, and we've always wanted to have more information on sunlight. And your discovery of this information and being able to look at it more closely at many locations is a tremendous asset. And we know that cool season grasses use about half the light that a warm season grass will require. And as you've been telling me, that the warm season grasses can use all the light and probably can't get enough light. So light and temperature are limiting for warm season grasses, and that's where I think you're taking us. I'm guessing. Let's see what you got.
That's right. So if we look, so these are all cities where warm season grasses grow, and we're looking at temperature now, and it looks all good for temperature, but there's going to be a separation when we change the y-axis and look at the amount of sunlight. So if we do that, we see that Miami and Honolulu are relatively high in sunlight hours, and they kind of overlap with each other. And then we have Hilo, Rio, and Hong Kong with less sunshine hours and quite a bit of overlap there. If we move on to the next image, we see, oh, right, the last Olympics, they were held in Beijing, but did you know that the equestrian events were held in Hong Kong? And I had a chance to go over there and see the course for that, and there was some zoysia on that course, there was some Bermuda grass on that course, but it's always a struggle to grow Bermuda grass in Hong Kong, because the grasses that grow really well in Hong Kong are zoysia grass and carpet grass, the same grasses that we've seen that were growing in Hilo. And this is a golf course in Hong Kong that was planted to Bermuda grass less than 20 years before this picture was taken. And the zoysia grass, it was planted to Bermuda, and now the zoysia grass has come in, taken over 95% of that fairway, completely taken over the tee. The rough is zoysia grass, except in the shade where there's carpet grass. And we can look at another golf course in Hong Kong that receives moderate maintenance, and this one, the green used to be Bermuda grass. Now the green's been taken over by almost completely by zoysia, and the fairway is carpet grass. But what we see in Hong Kong is a very similar type of climate to Hilo, and we also see a very similar type of grass growing there. And if we look at these charts, and now we just plot temperature on the x-axis and sunshine hours on the y-axis, we'll see that between Hong Kong and Hilo and Rio de Janeiro, there is a lot of overlap in the space that's circumscribed on that chart, which says the combination of temperature and sunlight, which controls the turfgrass growth, is essentially the same in those areas. So I would predict, never having been to Brazil and not knowing what grasses are growing there, but based on these charts, I would predict that the grasses that would work well in Rio de Janeiro for a managed turfgrass situation would be very similar to what works well in Hilo and what works well in Hong Kong, rather than the grasses that would work well in Miami or in Honolulu, which tend to be the Bermuda grasses. So rather it would be the zoysia grasses or the carpet grass type of grasses. Now we can look also at this type of static chart, and now we're just looking at the annual average. And we see that Miami and Honolulu are grouped very close together with relatively high sunshine hours, and keeping at the very similar temperature. Now we go down on the chart and we see that Rio de Janeiro, Hong Kong, and Hilo are also grouped very close together. And I would say that the temperature in those cities is right around 24 degrees Celsius on an average throughout the year. The temperatures are similar, but there's a big difference in light, and that has a huge impact on how turf grasses will perform.
Well, that's all fascinating work. I think it's really providing some great insights on why grasses either perform well or fail in different environments, and why when we hear turfgrass managers talking to each other and saying something will work in one location, and then somebody who thinks they have a similar site says that doesn't work at all for me. What are you talking about? I think with a little bit more detail, and I think trying to figure out how to incorporate sunshine hours into the modeling would be great. And if there was more locations that we had access to solar radiation throughout the year, it would really be a tremendous factor, especially as we're seeing the climate change so much now. We're getting a lot of these very odd conditions that it would really make us a little more aware of how these turfs are performing through the year. So I think it's a great contribution. I hope some of the other superintendents out there will take a look at this, and if you're going to start specking out a turfgrass for your site, it's a good thing to consider what's going on, and we'll come back and touch on some of these ideas and concepts that Micah's working with now on some related issues that all seem to tie back to some of these climates. So Micah, do you have anything closing words you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, that about covers it, Larry. I'm sure we'll be talking again sometime soon on another exciting turfgrass topic, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all for watching. This is another Turfgrass Interviews with the Experts, highlighting Micah Woods' work from the Asian Turfgrass Center.